That makes a massive difference. If when the pitch is dry, you can pass the ball not really through 3-4 yards. That's for all teams in the world. If they play football, if you do it like West Brom, the ball is constantly in the air, you don't need a wet pitch. But that's how it is. So we have to deal with that. And they can do it now next year, playing football with a dry pitch in a championship. So that's how it is, and we have to deal with it.
Have you seen the Hegazi incident with Ings back?
Afterwards, no, my analyst showed it to me. So, yeah. What can I don't have to say anything about that. I don't know why he did it. There was no reason for that, but he did it. And yeah, and with the penalty situation, people were laughing on Ingsy at Ingsy that he goes down in that situation. Nobody can stand on their feet in that situation. So how is that? We know what we are responsible for, but with the number of games, stuff like that, and then you need only the right decisions, not on your side, not that, only the right, and everything is fine at the end. Then we win here 3-0 or 3-1, because I think everybody knows that they want set pieces in the last few minutes, and the ref gave it in the corner with Joe Gomez. Everybody told me it was not a foul, so and that makes life not easier.
Obviously, he's got a point about the officiating. What about the pitch, Stevie?
I mean, he's right in one way, because it does make a difference. You know, Liverpool not being able to move the ball around and not having enough space. With that, they could have been 3 or 4 up, but they weren't. But they're 2-0 up. I mean, it's one thing to complain when you've won a game, but when you've lost 2 late goals, you end up 2-2. It just doesn't come across well. I do kind of feel for them. You know, you've done something that hasn't happened since before Christmas, and that's given a 2 or 3 goal lead away. You think all that's disappeared. He doesn't want that negativity. It's annoying him. You can see it's annoying him. So, at the end of the day, it's not like him either.
It feels a bit unnecessary.
Yeah. It's highly unnecessary, and let's not give a pass to Jurgen Klopp. Had this been Jose Mourinho, we would be all over and we would going crazy about it. But because this guy is sort of likable and you enjoy his celebration, and most of the time he behaves in a certain manner, then we say, you know, it's just, you know, it's all right. He's frustrated. I don't think so. I think he takes an unnecessary shot at West Brom here. Sure. They got their own issues. Yes, they're going to the championship. Yes, they're going to get relegated. And he said, well, they can go play in their dry pitch in the championship. What is that all about? What does that have to do? What does that have to do with you allowing 2 late goals on set pieces that you didn't mark properly? To me, not only is it necessary, but it's petty from Jurgen Klopp. A team and a manager who should be focusing on Champions League, on what's ahead and the things that they have achieved so far and what they could achieve. Yeah. And you're concerned about a dry field? Come on now.
Boy, is it a feeling of deja vu for Tottenham Hotspur fans. This is their 8th consecutive FA Cup semi-final in which they have lost. This is what Dele Alli had to say after the game. We let ourselves down. It's very disappointing. You can't go 1-0 up, then 2-1 down against a team like Manchester United. We were dominant from the first minute, and it only looked to be going one way. He continues, everyone talks, we want to win trophies. We can't keep doing this. We can't throw it away. We have got to improve. It's crazy when you look at Spurs in the Premier League. They haven't lost at all when leading this season. However, in the Champions League, they lost to Juve despite taking the lead. Of course, yesterday in the FA Cup, they lost to United despite having the lead. And indeed, you take a look at the League Cup, they lost against West Ham, that despite having a 2-0 lead. Pochettino after the match said to create that winning mentality is not about a few years. Tottenham need more time, of course, with me, or another. Interesting stuff there from Poch. Let's start off, shall we, with Julian Laurent. Jules, you're at Wembley for this game. Spurs were just so bleh in the second half.
Yeah, they were. It was strange because they lacked so much character in that second half and control over that game. And once Herrera scored quite early in that second half, then you could have left the stadium. You knew exactly what was going to happen in the remaining 35 or 40 minutes of the game. Is that they would have never scored. They could have played for another 2 hours. They wouldn't have scored. United were in total control, and it is disappointing. I mean, I think Dele Alli is right. It is disappointing to see such a team full of talent being able to I don't know, to shy away from a game that they had under control again. And, you know, the thing about that stats where they go ahead and then they lose in the cups, all of them have it at Wembley. And maybe psychologically they might get a bit complacent when they play at home, or at least at Wembley, and get into the lead. And maybe psychologically there's some work to do around that.
From a fan's point of view, there's nothing worse than seeing your team go out and not put up a fight in the second half as they did. Jules is spot on, isn't he? After Herrera scored, you could have walked away because you knew how this one was going to end.
I'm not so sure that you could say they did put up a fight. I think you've got to give Manchester United credit. They got everybody behind the ball from just inside their own half to, 10 yards above the penalty box. And there was nowhere for Tottenham to go. Now, you could say that, you know, in a situation like that, you need your top players to come up with something. You know, Eriksen or Dele Alli or Harry Kane. Was Harry Kane playing in this game? I mean, Harry Kane was awful in my opinion. But Manchester United were absolutely spot on, defended in the right area to win the ball back and then break. I mean, you've got to give them some credit.
All the things that you're saying, those are factually correct. And very well done by you.
Thank you.
However, we sat here in this studio on Friday and we picked Spurs. For some odd reason, we believe that this team, in a game that counted, they were going to be able to break through. And it's because you look at the way that they have played, and because you look at the players that they have available, and because of you think that Pochettino is going to break through. And I'll have to tell you, all of those people that I just mentioned, players included, fans included, Pochettino included, fail. Fail and fail once again. You look at both managers in that coming out of halftime. You saw one manager that was under control, a manager that knew what the decisions were going to be, a manager that knew what his team was going to look like out on the field. And then you looked at another manager that was just taking a stab at things, just throwing things on the wall and see what stuck. And that was Pochettino. Because you put players on the field, Lucas Moura, you put him out there, you think he's going to take somebody in a 1v1 situation, he's playing underneath and inside. What? What's he doing in there? Heung-min Son, who was so good in the first half, coming from the left-hand side, also playing underneath and inside. Well, there's no space for Dele Alli. There's no space for Eriksen. There's no space for Lamela, who eventually comes on the field. Everything was in front of Manchester United. Everything was so easy to defend for Manchester United. As for Spurs, there is no experience here to draw from for them to say, we're going to be successful. But at some point, you got to break through. You can't keep saying. And I appreciate what Dele Alli is saying.
That's why we picked them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That you hear what Dele Alli is saying, and I appreciate it. We can't continue to be this way. We have to learn from it. Well, have you? Because there's been moments, the League Cup you just mentioned, Champions League we just mentioned. And so instead of learning from it, what you're doing is that you're taking those experiences and know that that's what you're capable of doing. That those are the performances you put together in a game that counts. And those things come out again in a game that matters, and they come up short.
If you were to put these teams together, I think there'd probably be more Spurs players than United players in the combined 11.
Yep.
Is it as simple as saying if we swap managers, it would be Spurs in the final?
No, I don't think it is. I think Tottenham's makeup is not to do what Manchester United did. So I think Mourinho has the type of mentality in his players that even when they're not doing well, they're just not going to give much away. You can't say that about Tottenham.
You're never picking Spurs again, are you, Ali?
No, that's it. I'm out. I've given up. I felt, okay, confident that I thought this was the moment where Spurs were going to turn it around. They were going to break through. But that's it. I've learned my lesson. I am never, ever taking Spurs in a game that matters.
Final word for you, Jules, on this.
Well, it's Jose Mourinho doing what Jose Mourinho does best as well, and it's another final for him and for United. And I'm just pleased for Paul Pogba because, you know, after everything that happened between him and Mourinho, the critics and everything, and okay, on the Dele Alli goal, he was not perfect in how he was striking back Eriksen on that left-hand side, but on the Sanchez goal, it was just magnificent, I thought.
Celebrations all round because, of course, when you take a look at the table now, just 1 point separates Napoli and Juventus at the top of the table with 4 matches remaining. We'll talk about their run in a moment because you could certainly argue that Napoli has the easier. But you take a look at the stats, Juve with no shots on goal throughout the entire match. Napoli go there, they boss the possession. plus the chances, plus the passes as well. As Gab Marcotti joins us. Gab, Napoli deserve to win?
Well, I think on balance of what happened during the game, no question about it. They went there. They felt that they needed to win to give themselves a chance. They tried hard for a long time. And the last half hour, perhaps, they ran out of steam. So in the end, it came from a set piece. Allegri spoke after the match saying, no, well, we didn't play for a draw, but we sat in there, tried to hit them on the break, but it didn't quite work out. But I think we all saw the game. Juve really, really struggled. When you don't manage a single shot on target, that's not a good sign.
Let's take a look at what else Allegri had to say after the match. It was a terrible game from both teams. There were barely any shots on goal. Gab, where do you stand on this? First versus second in Italy. For you, was it a good game?
You know what? I think this question, no disrespect, is just silly. Napoli went there and they tried to win. If they weren't able to go and create chances the way they normally do, it's not because the game is terrible. It's because Juve defended in numbers and by and large defended well and didn't concede clear-cut chances. Juventus chose to play a certain way. They had the 4-point lead. They had the luxury to sit back and defend. I don't think it was the right thing to do. I think if Allegri had a do-over, he would do things differently. But that's what happens. When you have one team that parks the bus and one team that has no choice but to attack, you sometimes get these situations. So I think, if Allegri says as well, it was a terrible game, well, yeah, your guys didn't quite show up to play, and sometimes it takes two teams to play.
So it was rubbish then? But you just can't say that.
Where do you stand on it?
I didn't enjoy the game. I didn't enjoy the game at all.
Stevie, I mean,
Gab, I didn't enjoy the game at all. Listen, for us, we want to see a game of football. We want to see chances and we want to see goals. And if that's what you want to see, then don't go and watch this game again, because you won't see any. And those stats, 12 shots it said that Napoli had. I'm sorry. I absolutely did not think any one of these teams was going to get close to scoring a goal. Never mind Koulibaly scoring with the winner.
Before we let Gav come in, Ali, where do you stand on this? It's a spectacle.
Yeah, as a spectacle, it's a bad spectacle. When you consider the fact that there was only, and to Gav's point, there's only one team really trying to win this game, and it was Napoli. The approach by Juventus at home, too conservative, too negative. Paulo Dybala gets taken off at halftime, and I can understand that. Well, okay, they were struggling with possession, and maybe they just wanted to solidify the midfield. When those are the sort of conversations that you're having, it's because the game has not been very good. It's because it's about defensive shape. It's because it's about we're going to keep everything in front of us, and we're going to be pragmatic, and all of a sudden you just go, this was not worth watching.
We've got to move on from this discussion, because we've got to look at the remaining matches, and no question, Napoli have got the easier run, and Juve still have got to go away against Inter and also away against Roma. Both of those sides, of course, vying for a Champions League place. Gab, the question's simple, I suppose. Who's going to win it?
This is the absolute test now of Juve and how strong they are mentally. We've seen them bounce back so many times before. As I recall on Friday in the studio, everybody was sure that somehow Juve were gonna get that late winner, or something was gonna happen, because that's how Juve do. Well, they're gonna have to do that now, because the pressure's on them. They play before Napoli in every round. Roma and Inter, those are two tough games.
That is the fourth consecutive Copa del Rey that Barcelona have won. They have been fantastic in this competition. The big question that you just keep asking yourself when you see them play like this, how on earth did they go to Italy with a 4-1 lead and lose 3-0 to Roma?
You're asking me that question. If we sat Lionel Messi in this studio right now, we asked him the same question, he wouldn't have an answer for you. The truth of the matter is that what happened at Roma, it was the sort of thing that they didn't have a plan. They were surprised at how Roma approached the game, surprised that, oh, by the way, Roma came to play and they're fighting and they believe, and don't they know we're Barcelona? Don't they know that we're just going to walk through this? And they didn't walk through it. And when there was a moment to react, Barcelona could not do so. When Valverde was asked to react, he could not make the changes that needed to be made. total failure for Barcelona there. But on this night, you see this team play like this. When Barcelona plays like this, it doesn't matter whether you're Sevilla or somebody else. Very few teams, and I mean very few teams, would have an opportunity to compete against this version of Barcelona.
Having said all of that, Stevie, how did Manchester United lose to Sevilla at Old Trafford?
I think it has to be a similar situation to Barca losing to Sevilla. Listen, from a technical point of view, both of those sides, in my opinion, are ahead of Sevilla. But the mental and physical side, regardless of who you play against, if you don't get them right, then you're running up a hill. And sometimes you just can't stop what's coming down the hill. And it happens in football.
There's a lot of hills there.
An emotional night then for Iniesta, a special one for the Spanish international. Front page of AS Iniesta, no te vayas, el último emperador. Don't go, Iniesta. What's
El
it?
último emperador.
That's what I said.
No, that's
the
not what you
last
said.
emperor. Meanwhile, the Catalan newspapers, eternal champions and long live the kings.
Yes.
you're
The
such
5-0 win.
What a clever boy.
We'll be talking more, of course, about Barca's Copa del Rey victory, plus a lot of Champions League talk on ESPN FC throughout the week. Just a reminder, you can join us on ESPN Plus, our new home. Mo Salah is the PFA Player of the Year. What a season he has had since joining from Roma. A worthy winner?
Yes, no doubt about it. Early on, it felt like it was going to be Kevin De Bruyne, that he was going to run away with it. I think in the end, the fact that he has so many good players around him, maybe some votes went in a different direction that could have gone to Kevin De Bruyne, but the goals by Mohamed Salah speak for themselves. Salah is certainly a worthy winner.
I think at the start of the season, we thought Salah would kind of dry up a little bit. And for me, he does deserve it because the game's about goals. As great a player as Kevin De Bruyne is, Salah, from the first minute of the season to right now, still got a bit to go, all this guy's done is put the ball in the back of the net. So the game's about goals, and the man that scores the most should get the award.
You may have thought, well, there weren't that many Premier League fixtures this weekend. Probably no team of the week. Hey, fear not. We don't want to disappoint. Here it is. Marcotti, Mariner and Nicol put together this. It's the ultimate 11. Stevie,
It's a
I've got 3 in it.
you've only got 3.
I've only got 2. Monreal, Tompkins and Salah and, oh, beg your pardon, Rondon.
Hey!
there you are.
Vamos, Venezuela!
There's a reason for that. Because I couldn't see all the games.
Why not?
Well, because there was 3 games today.
Yes.
And 2 yesterday, right?
Yes.
So the 2 yesterday. Today,
Right.
because we weren't counting the FA Cup,
Okay.
I had to watch Chelsea-Southampton, which meant I couldn't see all the Arsenal game. I couldn't see Stoke. And I couldn't see Manchester
Couldn't you
City.
have recorded them and then watched them?
How can I? I had to come in here and do digital on Chelsea-Southampton. So I actually only saw 2.5 games.
So you're
I'm
guessing.
going to pick Team of the Week for that.
I think you need to up your game a bit, Stevie.
Yeah.
You can't just be guessing.
Gab, how do you watch up? You have many tellies you said you got?
Gab's got 6, hasn't he, in his basement?
6. Well, I'll need to try that then. That's my only chance.
I've got 4, but I'll tell you what. I feel blessed because for the first time since we've started doing the ESPN FC Team of the Week way back in the 1980s, I got 11 out of 11 plus the manager in there. Every single one of those guys is my guy.
Secret, by the way. Mariner was on a plane at 10 o'clock this morning, so we never saw the 3 games either. That's why you got 11 out of 11. So this
That may explain it, but I'll tell you what, it's a tough slog, really, when you've got 5 games, because some of these guys, I know this ESPN FC, of course, is a very prestigious award, and every Premier League player, you know, and they talk about it all the time on Instagram, on social, about how badly they want to get into it. Surely this week, when you only had 5 games, the bar was set considerably lower. There's a couple
West Ham.
It's a nice touch from the boys. I like it. It's
no,
a nice
Gab,
touch.
you mean
know,
Gab.
It was a special day.
Who was your manager?
Yeah, Gab,
that
sorry.
was-
Did you didn't put one?
Well, it wasn't going to be Klopp, was it?
Well, not with his moaning about dry pitches.
It wasn't going to be either the Watford or the Palace manager either. Well, what a game that was.
Have you forgotten who manages what?
Yes. I actually have. completely forgot who
Roy
I was
Hodgson
there.
and Javi Gracia.
There you go.
Oh, I knew the Gracia one. It was the Hodgson one I couldn't get.
Yeah,
was
I
struggling with
wonder
Roy
why a
Hodgson.
Liverpool
Thanks for that.
fan would have forgotten Roy Hodgson's name.
Yeah.
Team of the week.
Why do you even bring it up if you don't know the names?
It's just that kind of weekend. I mean, what can I say? What a weekend it's been.
Welcome to Extra Time. What a weekend of drama it's been. It's been fun, hasn't it? Oh, enjoyed it.
Where was it?
At home, Wembley. No, at home. Everything's fine. Lovely time. I did a colour run this morning.
You didn't see Crystal Palace Watford then?
No, I did not see Crystal Palace.
It's a lot of drama.
Clearly.
How was that?
Clearly.
So, as the season comes to an end, would you still choose Morata over Lukaku?
No,
Steve, you hate
not
Lukaku.
based on the performance of this season. No.
Do you know what? I am not a big fan of Lukaku, you might have noticed.
Yes.
Lukaku.
It's hard to choose Morata over him when Morata's not even getting a game. So, I have to go with Lukaku.
Lukaku, nice assist at the weekend, wasn't it?
Classic Lukaku.
Have you been impressed with Manchester United's comebacks against the big teams like Manchester City, Chelsea and Spurs? It's like what used to happen under Fergie.
But that didn't work against
Hold on a
Sevilla.
second. Actually, no, Fergie's teams used to go and beat people. They didn't wait till they were behind. I mean, you got to give them some credit. They looked in trouble at one time, and I thought the second half they got it spot on, defended in the right spot, and then they broke. But Fergie's teams didn't wait till they went behind.
Gab, if Napoli pull off a Serie A title win this season, will this rank as a higher achievement than the one by the Napoli side led by Maradona?
Well, Maradona actually won 2 Serie A titles. Let's not forget. It's a really good question. I would say no, simply because while that team was a better team, top to bottom, the Maradona team, that was their first ever title. When they won it again in 1990, of course, they also went and won the UEFA Cup. I'd say it probably would rank somewhere in between those two.
What was your contribution?
Gab, I am assuming you're going to agree with this. Please let me know.
Boy, that's
There we go. Where are you looking?
There is absolutely no question the opposition that Maradona and that Napoli side had to play against was far superior to the teams that are playing today. Would you concur?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right then. All right.
Move on. No question about
Rest
it.
my case, Your Honour.
Final question. Jules is here still. Hey!
But this team won 88 points so far. They can reach 100 points. Even if they won't win the title, it'll still be a success. It's a great team, and it's a great manager.
I told you to move on.
I tried. Jules is here. No questions about Liga, obviously, Jules. So let's ask you this. Sarri or Allegri, better fit at Chelsea?
Oh, that's a good one. I think if Sarri likes a certain type of players that often he played with before as well, someone in the current Napoli side, for example. But yeah, you know what? I would go for Sarri. I just love what he's done with this Napoli team, not just this season, over the last 3 seasons. So I think he would do really well at Chelsea.
Gab Marcotti, same question.
What you get with Allegri is you get a guy who can play different ways, who's been there, who copes with pressure well. One of the things about Sarri today on the way to the game, for example, Juventus fans that surrounded the Napoli team bus, they had their own version of the Anfield welcoming committee, and they were insulting the players, and he lost his cool and he gave them the finger. You can't do that when you manage a big club. And he's had situations where, he's had sort of control issues. That said, managing at Chelsea there is a lot less pressure than there is managing in Naples. So it would be interesting to see him there. But for Chelsea's DNA, for what the club want, I would imagine Allegri would be a better fit.
We're ready to go home, Gab, but producer Pete wants me to ask, will either of these managers be at Chelsea next season?
I don't know. Of the two, I would guess that. I mean, both will be available, I suspect, in the summer. Chelsea, the reports today, Chelsea seem to have cooled on Luis Enrique. They got to hire somebody. There's not that many candidates out there, so you would assume that these two would be in the mix. Yeah.
Good question, producer Pete.
There we go.
Nicely done. That was worth it.
We are done.
Time.
Extra time. What a week. Roma, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Arsenal,
Producer
Atleti. We'll have you covered. It's going to be brilliant. Looking forward to it. And it's Everton Newcastle tonight. Be sure to join us. Just a reminder, we are now on ESPN Plus Sunday to Friday.